They tried to bury the truth, but secrets have a strange way of finding the light, and tonight everything the world thought it knew about Bai Lu is about to be rewritten from the ground up. If you think you have seen drama before, think again, because what you are about to hear will shake every single thing you believed about her. Stay till the end of this story because every second reveals something the media never wanted you to know. And before we begin, make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell because you will not want to miss what happens next. It started quietly one rainy evening months before the cameras caught her smiling on red carpets. While fans were falling in love with her on screen, Bai Lu was living a double life that no one around her dared to expose. Her phone was always on silent, her smile always perfectly timed, but behind that smile was a story she kept locked away from the world. Those who worked close to her noticed the small things: the ring that appeared once then vanished, the quick messages she would send and delete seconds later, the look in her eyes when someone mentioned a name she pretended not to know. The truth began to slip one night during a late filming session when an assistant director accidentally overheard a conversation on her phone. It was not a work call and it was not about a role, it was about someone she called my heart. The assistant said, her voice cracked slightly as if she was holding back a storm of emotions she could no longer control. That was the moment the quiet rumors began. Some said she was secretly seeing someone powerful, others whispered that she was already married. No one dared to say it aloud, not until the documents surfaced. Hidden deep inside an online registry was a name connected to hers in quiet legal text. It wasn't fake, it wasn't forged, it was real. The date matched the time she disappeared from public events for a few weeks, claiming exhaustion. Fans thought she had taken time off for health reasons, but the truth was far more shocking. That was the week Bai Lu quietly became a wife. The man's name remained blurred in every leaked screenshot that made it to the internet. Some claimed he was from the industry, others swore he was a businessman with deep connections in Shanghai. What made it even stranger was that every trace of him seemed to vanish after that marriage record appeared. His online accounts gone, his business records sealed, his photos wiped clean, as if someone powerful was making sure no one ever found out who he really was. Friends close to Bai Lu tried to protect her, saying she deserved her privacy, but the whispers grew too loud to contain. One stylist admitted that Bai Lu once broke down backstage right before a live event, crying silently into her hands, whispering, "I can't do this anymore." When asked what she meant, she said nothing, she just stood up, fixed her makeup and walked on stage as if nothing had happened. The crowd cheered that night, never knowing the woman they were screaming for had just faced the hardest decision of her life. But what drove her to hide her marriage so deeply? Some said it was fear that it would ruin her rising career. Others said it was the man himself, a figure so secretive that even those closest to her never met him in person. There were stories of her receiving late-night letters written in elegant handwriting and delivered by private couriers. Each time she read one, she would disappear for hours and return calm but distant, as if her heart had gone somewhere her body couldn't follow. Things changed dramatically when she started working with Wang again. The chemistry on screen was undeniable and fans couldn't stop talking about it. But those who paid attention noticed something else. During interviews, Bai Lu would glance at him for a second too long, her voice softening each time she said his name. Dylan noticed too, and it didn't take long for the tension to spread through the entire set. According to one insider, the secret marriage began to crumble around this time. The distance, the silence, the secrecy, it all became too heavy. She could no longer live between two worlds, the one where she smiled for the cameras and the one where she cried in silence every night. The breaking point came when a voice message surfaced online, one that was quickly deleted but not before a few fans caught it. The message was of a woman saying, "I never wanted to lie, I just didn't know how to choose between love and peace." The voice was soft but trembling, and everyone who heard it swore it sounded like Bai Lu. After that, the internet exploded with theories. Some fans claimed she had divorced quietly, others believed the marriage still existed but hidden under strict legal control. But then came the most shocking revelation of all. An anonymous post on a private forum claimed that her husband wasn't a stranger at all but someone she had known long before fame. Someone she had once called her first love. The story said they had promised each other the world, but fame separated them until fate brought them back together behind closed doors. Days later, Bai Lu was seen arriving at the airport alone, her face half covered yet her eyes filled with something deeper than exhaustion. Witnesses said she looked like a woman who had just lost something she never thought she would. She boarded the plane quietly and for weeks no one knew where she went. When she returned she was different, calm, distant, almost reborn. She smiled for the cameras again, but that smile no longer reached her eyes. People close to her say that after that trip she began working tirelessly as if trying to fill every quiet space with motion so she wouldn't have to think. The only clue she left behind was a handwritten note found on set weeks later that read, "Some secrets are meant to stay hidden because the truth can destroy more than lies ever will." The handwriting was unmistakably hers. And yet even after all this something still doesn't add up. Why would the media stay silent? Why were the biggest outlets avoiding the topic? Why were interviews edited to remove certain questions? Could it be that the truth was too powerful, too dangerous for her career, or maybe too personal for the world to understand? Whatever the reason, one thing is certain: Bailu's secret marriage isn't just a rumor, it's a mystery wrapped in silence, protected by power and guarded by pain. Somewhere out there someone still holds the missing piece of her story, the name, the reason, and the ending she never got to tell. Sometimes the truth doesn't stay hidden because someone exposes it. Sometimes, it bursts out when the person who has carried it for too long finally lets go. That was exactly what happened when Bai Lu returned from her silent disappearance, ready to face what she had been running from all along. If you thought the first part of this story was shocking, what comes next will leave you absolutely speechless. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell, because this ending changes everything. When Bailu came back from that mysterious trip, those who knew her said she was different. She smiled, but her smile no longer had the sparkle it once did. Her laughter felt rehearsed. It was as though she had left a part of herself behind. Her assistant noticed that she no longer wore the necklace she never took off before. That necklace, fans would later learn, was a wedding gift, a symbol of the love story she tried to protect from the world. But soon after her return, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived on the set of her new drama, no sender name, no return address. It was placed quietly in her dressing room. When she opened it, her face froze. Witnesses said she sat in silence for almost 10 minutes, her eyes glistening, before carefully folding the paper and tucking it into her purse. From that moment, everything about her energy shifted. She started canceling interviews, avoiding questions, and spending hours alone after filming ended. What was in that letter? That's the question that haunted everyone. Days later, a fan who worked as an intern in the production team claimed to have seen a torn piece of that same letter. It carried only one line, written in a familiar handwriting: "You kept your promise, even when I broke mine." Those words ignited a storm. If they were from the man she had secretly married, it meant he was alive, aware, and still watching her life unfold from a distance. But why now? Why send that message after years of silence? The answer came slowly, through quiet whispers that spread like wildfire across the industry. The man Bailu married was not just a secret lover, he was someone tied to the very heart of her early career. A producer who helped her rise, who shielded her from scandals, who loved her quietly behind the curtain. But his world was complicated. He was connected to people who saw Bailu as an investment, not as a woman. When she wanted to make the marriage public, he begged her not to, saying it would destroy them both. She agreed, and that decision became the weight she carried for years. But during her time away, something changed. That man, the one she once called her husband, made a choice that ended everything. He signed a document that officially erased their marriage from existence. He did it not out of hate, but because he wanted to free her from the chains of secrecy. In his final note, which never made it to the media, he wrote, "You deserve to be loved in the light, not in shadows." The moment Bailu read those words, she broke down completely. For the first time, she let herself cry, not for the pain, but for the relief. She was free, but that freedom came at a cost. Those who saw her that night said she looked both devastated and reborn. It was as if she had finally accepted that love doesn't always mean holding on, sometimes, it means letting go quietly and walking away. Weeks later, during a live interview, Bailu was asked about love. Her response silenced the entire room. She smiled softly and said, "Love is not what people see in the pictures. Sometimes love is silence, distance, and sacrifice. Sometimes it's the decision to disappear so the other person can shine. She didn't mention any names, but everyone in that studio knew she wasn't speaking from imagination, she was speaking from truth. After that interview, something magical happened. Her fans, instead of judging her, rallied around her. They flooded social media with messages of love and strength, thanking her for being brave enough to live honestly, even through pain. Hashtags about her story trended for days, and people started calling her the woman who chose peace over fame. But the story didn't end there. A few months later, while filming a romantic scene with Wang, something extraordinary happened. The camera was rolling, but when Dylan looked at her, the emotion in his eyes wasn't acting, it was real. He saw her pain, her strength, her story written all over her face. When the director yelled cut, no one moved. The moment felt raw and unscripted. Dylan reached out and whispered something that was caught faintly by the microphones, "You deserve someone who stays." That line spread across the internet like fire. Fans believed it was more than just dialogue, it was a message. A message from one person who understood her pain to another who had carried too much of it. That was the moment that redefined Bailu's story. She was no longer the actress hiding a secret marriage. She became a symbol of strength, resilience, and emotional truth. And as for the man from her past, he vanished again. No more letters, no more traces. But some say she still keeps one photo of him, tucked inside an old book, not out of sadness, but as a reminder that love, even when it ends, can still be real. In her final message to fans about the rumors, Bai Lu wrote, "Don't believe everything you hear. Believe in what you feel. The truth isn't always loud, sometimes it whispers." That whisper became the story that changed everything. So now the world knows, Bailu's secret marriage wasn't a scandal. It was a silent chapter of her life, one that taught her the cost of fame and the value of love that stays pure even when it's unseen. And as this story closes, one question remains: what did Dylan's final words to her really mean? Was it comfort or a confession? Only time will tell. So if you're still watching, hit that subscribe button now, because the next revelation, about what happened after that emotional scene with Wang, will leave the entire world speechless. Something is coming, and when it does, it will expose everything the cameras never captured. Stay tuned, because the truth always finds its way back.